Hello everybody, Nathan back again, bringing you guys another episode of my weekly review video of The Walking Dead. This one's going to be doing my weekly review video on Season 4 of The Walking Dead, Episode 6, Live Bait. Alrighty, so, to start this off, of course, there is going to be spoilers in this review video, because then it could not be a review video. That really wouldn't make sense. So, review or recap, whatever you guys want to call it. That's what this video is about. It contains spoilers from this episode and maybe some previous episodes before, just to clarify. So, starting off on this episode, I actually found this episode to be really, really well written. I found it really, really good. In my opinion, I don't know if it was the most action-packed best episode out of the entire season so far, but I believe it was the most dramatic. I believe, in my opinion, I like this episode more than any other episode that came before, because I'm not really, it's always nice to see, zombies get their head bashed in, or, human versus human, good versus evil. But at the same time, it was just really nice to kind of take a break from all that, and just kind of chill out with the governor, I guess, is what I don't know. I kind of like this episode a lot because it was just a change in pace from what we've seen for the rest of the season, and it was just really, really good. So starting off this episode for the review video or the recap, this episode basically starts off in season 3, actually. So season 4, episode 6, it starts off the end scene of the governor for season 3 when he slaughters his people, and then he also. He gets in the car, he gets Schubert and Martinez in the car, and basically the truck drives away. And now it cuts to a scene where I assume it's either that night, maybe a couple more nights after that. I assume it's that night, to be honest with you. They set up tents, all three of them obviously have their own tents. And they basically, the governor builds his fire and he sits down. He's just sitting down, and there's actually a walker coming towards him. Now, we've seen this in the sneak peek for the episode, or the promo, whatever you guys want when you watch for last week's episode. We've seen this in the sneak peeks, and he basically just sat there with the walker, and the walker came towards him, tripped over the fire, started crawling in the fire, it was burning, and Martinez basically came out and saved the governor's ass by shooting the zombie in the head, because the governor just wasn't moving. He just lost all, I guess, will to live, I suppose is what you could say. He just basically lost all will to live and just kind of was going to sit there and, I assume, let the zombie just, chow down, I guess. But, anyways, it ends off with that, with the 3 tents there, and it kind of transitions over to the next scene, where the governor went to sleep with two tents beside his tent. And then it transitioned to just being his tent. And he climbed out of his tent, got in the truck, and left. So we can basically assume that, Martinez and Schubert eventually left the governor. Now, this is quite a time in the future. So he definitely left his tent there for a while. He was sleeping there for a long time. Obviously going out on scavenging runs, but we can assume that this was a while, because he had his hair grown out completely. He had this full-on beard. We never really seen the governor with a beard, so that was pretty cool. I definitely recommend you guys go check that out. That was awesome. We see him as a beard, with a beard, and hair grown out, so we can assume it's a long time. So he gets out of his tent, and he basically just leaves, he just, he leaves his tent there, he just brings his gun. I don't know about any food, he might have brought some food, maybe in a little, sack that he was wearing, maybe in his pockets, something like that, I don't know. Or he could just, maybe that's why he left, because he ran out of food, or, something like that. But, anyway, he's alone there, and he leaves. Martinez and Schubert, obviously, we can assume that they left, and, so... jumping in the military truck now, like I said, he speeds to Woodbury, okay, and he's basically, he's standing in the center of the town, and looks at it in disgust, like, shit, I I had this town. This was my town. I did this. We could have had a great future here. This could have been a great town. You know, I built this, and but he looks at it in disgust because of the man that he's become. So this is where I can see, maybe, this is where I can see redemption for the governor, because he's looking at his previous self in disgust. You know, he's like, I killed all those people, and because of it, I've lost everything. You know, he lost his daughter. He kind of already lost her before that, but because he did all that evil stuff, Michonne killed his zombie daughter, I guess you could say. He lost his daughter. He lost his eye. He lost his town. He lost his people. He lost everything. There's nothing else for David to lose. Or, not David, but the governor. David Morrissey is the name. But, yeah, there's nothing else for him to lose now, you know? So, that's why I think he might be... You know, it's kind of hard to say, because I like to compare it to the governor in the comic book, but at the same time, this show is going completely different than the comic book. It's a completely different route. Now, it could end up the same way as in the comic book. You know, the governor couldn't turn back to evil, you know, if something happens, or, you know, just he could just redeem himself, you know. Anything's really possible with a TV show, you know. It's not going for the comic book feel anymore, you know. I mean, it's sticking to it, you know, up to an extent. Sorry about that. I had raspy throat or something. But anyways, yes. Full beard, his hair not now grown out long. The governor basically stumbles through the countryside and, you know, unknown streets. Don't really know where he actually is. He could be in Atlanta. He could be on the outskirts of Atlanta. He could be in a completely different city. Who knows? But yeah, he is basically wandering aimlessly. Honestly, he looks like a walker, you know. To somebody passing through, they probably would think he was a walker. He stops at a barn. He looks at some spray-painted messages left by people for their loved ones. The audio conversation that he's about to have with two women basically is kind of playing within that time. You know, when he's walking around aimlessly and just kind of looking at messages and stuff like that. And it basically reads, you know, I've been on the road for a couple months. He lived in a town. It was safe, full of good people. Now he kind of he you know, he talks about himself in third person. He doesn't want to let these people know what he was. So that's another reason I think that, you know, the governor could be redeeming himself. He's talking to these two women in the third person, trying to, I guess, back down from the person that he was, you know. So he goes, you know, it was safe, it was full of good people. The man in charge, he just lost it, you know. He basically says that I barely got out alive. All right, so obviously he's talking about the, you know, the former self, him, like the governor, as, you know, kill everything, destroy the prison, you know, get revenge on the Michonne, everything like that. He's talking about that guy, the people that the person that slaughters his own people, his entire town after they back down from the prison fight. He's talking about that guy, and he's talking to him in third person. You know, he's trying to explain. He's trying to redeem himself. He doesn't want to be that person anymore. He knows that he lost everything from becoming that person. And, yeah, that's what he doesn't want. I'm sorry for the background noise, by the way. I don't know if you can hear any kids in the background, but sorry for that. Anyways, yeah, now, stumbling and basically nearly unable to go down, the governor looks up, and basically above a Gorbelly Foods truck, into an apartment window, spotting what looks like a little girl. All right, so now this could be, you know, we'll find out in a minute, but this could be a sign that there's life in that building, or it could be just the fact that he lost his little girl, and, you know, maybe he's seen Penny again, or, you know, anything like that. You know, he's a little cuckoo at this point. So, yeah, now in the apartment building, he turns on his flashlight. He begins to move slowly through the halls in search of the child. He's greeted by a scared woman with a baseball bat. Lily. Her name is Lily. So, yeah, her daughter Megan, which was the one from the window, and she's hiding behind her. The apartment door opens. Tara, Lily's sister, aims her barrel at the governor's chest. He puts down his weapons and his back. He just basically says, "Shit, I don't want any harm. I'm not here to hurt you." Kind of to earn trust, I suppose, is what he would do that for. Put his weapon in his holster, give him take off his belt, and just give him everything. Right at the start. So yeah, now at the family apartment, they basically say, "You look like you barely got out alive." That's what Tara said to the governor. Saying nothing at first, he basically, takes stock of their situation. He kind of is looking around the place, kind of checking it out. Two women, one young girl, and an older man, which, by the way, is breathing from an oxygen tank. So that'll also come into play within the episode as well, the whole oxygen tank thing. So now the woman asks the stranger, how long he'll be staying, and he tells them just for the night. I'm going to leave in the morning. He basically just came up there to see, if the little girl was all right, if the little girl was real. He basically just came up there to see that, which is a softer side of the governor, of course. Obviously, trying to make sure that a little girl is safe, not in danger, not being chased by walkers, or, anything like that. Just kind of trying to help out a little girl. So, yeah. Now, Tara basically says, you mess with my family, I will put you down, basically what any survivor will say. She kind of threatens them, I was a police officer. And Tara now asks Philip, or the governor, his name, and he comes up with this name of Brian Harriet. Alright, so this name was actually posted on the wall that he was looking at previously. He was looking at the messages on the wall, and this name basically just, stuck out to him, Brian Harriet. So it was just kind of an alias at the time. Honestly, I was thinking about the book, The Rise of the Governor. I was thinking about his brother. His brother's name was Brian in that book. So at the time, I was thinking, maybe he was just, going by Brian because that's what his brother's name is. But I later found out on Talking Dead that, I didn't really pay much attention to the messages on the wall in the first place. But later found out on Talking Dead, as the governor, or David Morrissey, was on Talking Dead, that he said that, he basically got the name from the wall. So that was a very, very cool tie-in with that whole thing. At the time, like I said, I also thought it was the Rise of the Governor novel, but it wasn't. So, yeah. Anyways, now, another apartment in the building. Basically, Brian, with the governor, opens a tent and begins to eat. Knock at the door stops him. You've got to be hungry. Basically, Lily says, you've got to be hungry. Handing him a bowl of spaghetti. And he basically says, thank you. But he doesn't want the spaghetti. He doesn't want people to feed him. He doesn't want pity, I guess. So he heads to the window and he dumps the hot food outside and basically resumes in his tin can meal. So didn't want the spaghetti. So he just he dumped them outside of the window. He doesn't want to be taken pity on. He wants to do it all himself. He wants to survive on his own. He doesn't want to rely on people. Because the last time he kind of relied on people, he ended up, killing everybody. So, that was fun. Alrighty, so, now back in the family apartment, Megan is playing backgammon with her father. Because the governor, or, Philip, or Brian, whatever you want to call him, he actually, he went to go to another apartment and actually brought back the backgammon board for her grandfather and for Megan, as the grandfather obviously asked him to. So yeah, now, while watching Megan play backgammon with her grandfather, the sisters basically, I guess, share the worries with the child. Kind of, how is she going to survive in this world? Sort of that stuff. And basically the governor enters the room, putting down the empty bowl. They basically say, "Why don't you slow down, buddy? This isn't the Holiday Inn." Uh, bucket on the left is for washing, right is for rinsing. So basically just says, you ate your food, go wash the damn dish. So I thought that was kind of funny at the same time. So yeah, now inside the apartment, the women tell Brian or Philip or the governor, kind of confusing, but yeah, their post-apocalyptic story, I guess. When things changed, their dad was driving a heavy load Gorebelly food truck, which explains the food truck outside. He picked up Megan from school, Lily from the hospital, and they rushed to get Tara, and basically got stuck here. They couldn't really leave after they come to get Tara. So yeah, now the apocalypse story time is over. Brian is helping the dad to his bed. Can you come help me? Uh, yeah, he basically says, come help me. Uh, and he basically doesn't help. He kind of just picks him up on his own. So I thought that was kind of funny. A little help here, and then he comes over, just picks him up in his arms and carries him to the bed. So I thought that was kind of cool, kind of funny. At the same time, let him do it all his own again. He doesn't want to rely on anybody to help him do anything. So yeah, now uh, he asked Brian for a favor, which was to retrieve the backgammon set from Bill Jenkins' apartment in 303. It might be something that might make Megan talk again, please. So just because it's the kid, Brian or the governor, he does it. He goes to Jenkins' apartment, grabs the backgammon set from under the bed. Brian is about to leave, and basically he hears something in the bathroom. So he goes into the bathroom, opens up the shower curtain, and in the tub, there's a walker, which was obviously Bill Jenkins. He must have tried to commit suicide, and when things changed, as his face was a mess, and there was a revolver in his hand. So obviously, there obviously must have been some sort of him shooting himself, but he must not have got it completely in the brain, so that was kind of stupid of him. But anyways, yeah, Brian takes the weapon, basically puts a screwdriver in his head, puts Bill out of his misery, I suppose is what you could say, and takes the weapon and leaves. So yeah, now another apartment in the building now. After the delivering the backgammon set, Brian heads to the place. He's resting his head for the night and pulls out the photo of his own family. Now, this for me was kind of an emotional scene because in that photo, obviously you can see him, you can see his daughter Penny, and you can see his wife. Obviously before she died, which she already explained back in season 3 that was from a car accident 18 months ago. So yeah, I thought that was a nice tie-in. But yeah, he has this picture with Penny and his wife, and he folds over the corner of his own face in the picture and basically looks at himself in disgust. I don't want to be seen in this picture. He folds over his side of the picture, and yeah, basically just wanting to look at his wife and his daughter Penny before falling asleep. But he's so disgusted in what he's been, and he just doesn't want to look at himself anymore. He doesn't want to be that guy anymore. And that's another reason why I think this could be redemption time for the governor. So yeah, now in the morning, Lily comes in, gives him a couple things for the road, handing Brian a package. There's a little flinch there, I thought, when she threw him the package. Kind of like keeping his guard up, but at the same time trying to be nice and everything. There was a little bit of flinch there, so he didn't really know what was going to happen. She basically explains, you helped us by getting the backgammon set and stuff like that, and we're saying thank you, deal with it. So he has kindness. He has a kindness for her too. A lesson in walker biter extermination. You have to kill the brain. That's what he says. You have to kill the brain. You have to, in order to kill a walker or a zombie or whatever a biter, you have to damage the brain. They didn't know this up until this point because previously, when they were trying to shoot a walker, they shot it in the stomach. Obviously, that doesn't do anything for a walker, so he just kind of lets her know, you have to kill the brain. So yeah, she's nervous, but Lily decides to ask him for a favor anyway. Her dad actually has stage 4 lung cancer. He just has a few days left to live. She basically asked Brian to make them better by retrieving an oxygen tank from a local, old man's home, or like old person's home, something like that. And basically, ask him to do that. So he says yes, obviously. Now it cuts to a scene over at the old folks' home, where he's walking through the halls, kind of being cautious, keeping his whereabouts, and he has that gun still from the Bill Jenkins' apartment where he got the backgammon board. He has that gun, so we have to keep that in mind now. He does have that gun, so he's a little bit more safe now. So yeah, he heads over to the medical center, stepping over the bodies and walkers. He sees the oxygen tanks. He's tossing an extra tank onto the dolly. But it wasn't a good idea. There's a big dolly of oxygen tanks, and he just tried to put, one more on there just so he could grab that one, and it wasn't a good idea. The clanking metal basically arouses the walkers, who are fast, and they lunge for him. He's almost overrun. He got this big heavy dolly, and he has to leave it. He has to leave that oxygen tank dolly. He grabs 2 oxygen tanks though before leaving the hospital or the old folks home. So he rushes to the family apartment. He basically says, they're both full, giving Lily the tanks, and she notices that he's been cut and follows him upstairs, rubbing alcohol in hand. So basically, she basically orders Brian, to sit down, let me be a nurse again. As the alcohol touches his head, again and again, he kind of flinches. Obviously it stings like a bitch. After a brief conversation, the little girl, or Megan, actually walks into the room, and basically says, Lily says that she's out of bandages, and she basically says, Megan, you stay here just to keep an eye on her patient while she goes to get everything that she needs to repair the governor, or fix up the cut that he had. So Megan actually asks him about his eye. It's usually what everybody would ask somebody if they had a missing eye or an eye patch. Sorry guys, I'm just really tired right now. Kind of early in the morning, but just trying to get this done for you guys so I can upload this today. But yeah, she basically asked, did something happen to you, or were you just born like that? And he's answering calmly, quietly at first, and something happened to me, and she basically says, was that bad to ask? And he says no. And Brian, or the governor, he says that he'll tell her what happened if she promises to keep it a secret. And she reaches out her little finger, which I thought was pretty cute. And Brian, or the governor, he's like, "What's that?" He doesn't really know what the pinky swear is. So I thought that was kind of funny. And she says in this cute little calm voice, she says, "Pinky swear," and yeah. So the governor, held out his pinky, and they did this whole pinky swear thing. And he basically explains to her, no, he's not a pirate. Because at first he explained to her that he was a pirate, kind of joking around. We got a little bit of a laugh out of the governor, so I thought that was kind of funny. He was trying to help someone that he loved, obviously referring to Penny. At the time, obviously, Penny was kind of a zombie, kind of a walker, but yeah, he was trying to help Penny out, and yeah, he was trying to help Penny out, and that's how that kind of happened. And he got hurt in the process, and also she got hurt in the process. And Megan basically says, "I'm sorry," and he replies with, "Me too." All right, so now back at the family apartment now. The dad is on his last breaths, being tended to by Lily and Tara. Brian keeps Megan basically occupied by teaching her chess, which I thought was pretty cool. He's explaining to her all the pieces of the chess game. And, yeah, he's basically explaining to her all the pieces, and basically explains to her that, this is the king, and the little girl takes the king with a black marker and puts an eye patch on the king, and basically, this is just like you. So I thought that was kind of cool, a little cool tie-in with the governor. Obviously, he was the king of his own town, earlier, Woodbury. And yeah, so I thought that was a pretty cool tie-in. It was pretty funny. So yeah, now the dad has now died. Gathered around the bread, gathered around the bed. Brian basically tells them to leave, and it's too late. The dad becomes basically a walker, and he lunges for Tara. Reacting basically instinctively, Brian grabs an object and bashes in the walker's head, which he grabbed actually one of the oxygen tanks, which was actually pointed out on Talking Dead, ironically, that's the one thing that could have saved his life, and they used it to kill him. So I thought that was kind of funny, kind of cool. But yeah, he grabbed the oxygen tank and just started bashing in the walker's head, and the women around him screaming in terror, basically at all the blood coming out. So yeah, now after burying the dad, Brian and Lily head back to the apartment. Megan runs and hides behind a chair. She's now scared of the governor or Brian. He could have got me. He almost got me. That's what Tara tells Brian. And she basically, thanks him. We're cool. Yeah. So now, another apartment in the building now, upstairs, Brian is now burning the photo of his family. So, originally, he was just burning his part, his whole taken, just him in the picture. He's basically burning himself. What I thought at first, he was just going to leave his little girl, Penny, and his wife. But he ended up burning the whole thing and throwing it out the window. Trying to kind of just leave that past behind him, No more vengeance, no more anything. Just trying to leave that past behind him. That's at least how I took it. So, yeah. Now Brian burns the photo and he heads out and basically knocks on their door real quickly and says that he's leaving. And she basically says to him, we're coming with you. For now, you're stuck with us, and that's just how it's going to be. So now on the road, Megan and Lily are in the back. Tara's up front with the governor using that Gorebelly Foods truck. And she basically asked him, do you think we can make it? And the governor replies with, we'll make it. And now, parked near a stream or a river or a pond, whatever you guys want to call it, gathered around a fire. Megan isn't quite ready to speak to the governor yet, and Melody basically, tells him, it's going to take some time. And, yeah. So, Megan's not quite ready to speak to him, so she's kind of just over there sitting in the back of the food truck. So, yeah. Hunkering down in the back of the truck now. Megan's asleep, curled up to Tara. And her mom next to Brian. Wiggles basically closer to him. So yeah, this was kind of awkward scene to talk about, so I'm going to skip over that. There was basically a hookup in the back of the truck between two people, and while the other two people were sleeping. So, anyways, yes. Now, in the morning now, the new little family, I guess, is what you could take it, basically forced to hit the road by foot. The truck won't start. After that cold night, or whatever you guys want to say what it was. It was a cold night. That's what I think it was, at least. Obviously they were all huddled up together, and yeah. So the truck won't start now, and they have to make their way on foot. Megan drags her little pink suitcase down a gravel road. Brian hears sounds that aren't quite right. He runs up ahead, and he sees a group of walkers, off to the left down a alley. And he basically screams, drop your bags, let's go, because you have to get the hell out of there really quick, because there was actually it was a pretty big herd. I don't think it was, definitely not as big as what we've seen in episode 3 of The Walking Dead with that 7,500 walker herd, but it was definitely pretty big. So yeah, he basically screams to him, drop your bags, let's go. Megan freezes and eventually decides to leap into the governor or Brian's arms. He runs, clutching her closely. Lily drags Tara because Tara actually fell, injured her ankle a little bit. And the biters are basically, in pursuit, kind of chasing after them. Running as fast as he can, Brian makes a misstep, and he and Megan fall into a hard Walker Pit. Obviously, we've seen Walker Pits before in The Walking Dead in Season 3. It was actually created by the Governor and Martinez and their whole group. And, yeah, someone else is using those tactics. So, he and Megan fall into the pit, and it's a pit filled with walkers. You know, as the sound of machine guns firing echo through the air, along with Megan's cries, there's more walkers falling into the pit, trying to follow them. And Brian takes out each walker. You know, he's putting his all right now into protecting Megan, which I thought was really, really cool, really, really symbolic, that he's trying to take Megan over as his own daughter now. You know, he's protecting the shit out of her. He's taking out each walker in the pit with his bare hands, you know. First one, he bashes the walker's head against skulls. Second one, he rips his throat out. Third one, he just punches the shit out of him. And the last one, he actually picks up a bone and rips the walker's head off. And he hugs the little girl, you know, I'm never going to let anything happen to you. And she says, promise. And he says, cross my heart. And all of a sudden we hear a holy shit, and looking down into the pit, it's Martinez. And Brian just basically utters the words again to Megan, cross my heart. So, that's the end of the episode, guys. That is the end of episode 6 of season 4 of The Walking Dead Live Bait. Very, very good episode all the way through. It was very, very emotional, very, very dramatic. Great acting on the part of David Morrissey and all of the survivors that he met, obviously. And yeah, it ends off with him meeting Martinez. Now, as we can see in sneak peeks for next week's episode, I'll kind of review them in the video prediction, you know, the episode prediction video coming up this Thursday. It's actually going to be November the 21st is when I'm going to do the video predictions for next week's episode, which is Season 4, Episode 7. Yeah, The Walking Dead Season 4, Episode 7, and this one's entitled Did Wait. So that's 407, and yeah, I cannot wait for that episode, because it looks to me, from sneak peeks, that it's actually a standalone Governor episode, but we'll get into more detail with that during the episode prediction video coming this Thursday on the 21st. So, hopefully you guys did enjoy this episode review video, and hopefully you guys enjoyed the last night's episode of The Walking Dead. I thought it was one of the best yet, if not the best. Very, very focused on the Governor. And we actually didn't see the prison at all last night's episode, so I thought it was very, very cool. Thought it was a good change of pace, and hopefully they continue with those episodes once in a while. So it was very, very entertaining, very, very cool, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this review video. And if you did, definitely hit this up with a like. Go check out my predictions video for this episode. I didn't get very many things right. I don't even know if I got one thing right, to be honest with you. But yeah, I had some pretty cool predictions. Go check that out, and yeah. That's basically it for now. I'll talk to you guys on the prediction video. If that's all you watch on my channel is The Walking Dead. Also, I have this another series up right now, The Walking Dead Telltale video game. I actually started this series a while back, and I'm kind of continuing it now before the Season 2 of The Walking Dead Telltale game comes out. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that, and definitely go check out that video game, Let's Play or playthrough that I'm doing on my channel. And yeah, that's basically it. Subscribe if you haven't already for more Walking Dead related stuff. And I will talk to you guys in the next one. Alright guys, bye.